Hello folks, BulletBrew.com here in Minneapolis, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Standard and Modern. I'm gonna look at some European events, some American events. I'm going to quickly recap you for what Channel Fireball think is at the top in Standard and Modern, and also I'm gonna touch a bit the Magic Online metagame for those respective formats. So let's dive into it. We're gonna also cover some metagame calls and card choices and archetype tuning and things like that. So we started at the beginning of May with some big tournaments, and one of them for Europe was the Bazaar Mox in Nancy, and it was a few hundred players event. I'm gonna tell you the eventual winner first, I suppose. So this was this guy with what? Oh yeah, Band Company, but with a bit of a twist actually here. So he had some reshapers and stuff like this. But there were also decks like Grace's Control, Absent Company. That's the combo variant without rights, but with the Evangel, which works as just another extra copies of the Zolport Cutthroat. But he had like Fault Not Series main deck, so there's that. Pretty interesting sideboard, Declarations and Halitas and Transgresses and some other weird things, including Ever After as well. I think I've talked a bit about this top 8 last time, so I'm not gonna go into much details, but this is where we started at the beginning of May. And then let's walk ourselves through the month, essentially. And we're gonna talk a bit about Modern as well. So this is pretty interesting. So it's basically green-white tokens splashing for black? Essentially for what? No, it's just green-white tokens. Weird. Okay. So green-white tokens, green-white tokens. Very weird Jeskai control list, which is like all over the place and trying to win with planeswalkers and stuff like this. And I do like that quite a bit, though I don't know how this deck will fare right now with a lot of Band Company and tokens and humans again on top of the curve, on top of the metagame. So Channel Fireball, as for standards, thinks that, like, yeah, obviously tokens and humans are doing super good, Band Company's back, but you do still have Languish decks, so the control is not that, and Languish is actually pretty good right now, but for some reason those control decks are falling off a little bit, maybe because they're tuned. Also for wide metagame they want to actually do something against other control decks, but if they focus a bit more, they're gonna beat the green and white decks, I guess. But so there is this paper, scissors, rock kind of thing. Meanwhile in Modern, it's the combo decks and control decks, backed up by visions. Fish is good, Fish is okay, but it's a deck that's never been like super ridiculous. It's always been solid, but it's something that is not really hard to hate out. So I don't expect Fish to actually stay there for a long time. What else do you think? Well, yeah, Bental Eldrazi is alive, that's for sure. Yeah, a lot of creatures, a lot of fair decks, a lot of slightly unfair combo decks like Absent Company. So Bolt is good. Yeah, Bolt is better than Path to Exile right now because you don't want to Path their Noble right away on turn 1 or something. Things like that. Plus Call Against Command is awesome. Infinity is fine, Infect is fine, Company decks are fine, though they've been fallen a little bit out of favor recently because, well, some combo decks, more blue control decks, so A lot of interactive decks are actually making it less viable right now, plus Jund is fine. Jessica and Ahiri is of course a huge deal, but I think that deck is very biddable because Modern is so wide and so full of very different decks that actually sometimes can ignore what Jeskai and Ahiri decks are doing. So there is that. Okay, let's look at the online meta game. So this is standard first. Okay, we have green-white tokens, that's for sure. Nothing super ridiculous here in this list. Very more or less standard. Some numbers are flying around, but that's about it. Okay, this is the Seasons Pass, like black-green rock control deck. Nothing super insane here, just more creatures, just what the doctor ordered. An Ulamog, a Bellower as the top ends, and then this guy's even trying Jitrock Monster, by the way, that's Butakov, the guy who did win in the past few years back Mox Championship and played at World Cup and actually top 8 at the Grand Prix, etc. So yeah, it's interesting that he is actually playing out with this deck. His deck looks quite interesting, that's for sure. I approve the direction where he's taken this archetype. It's more of a direction of like what Sam Black's been playing at one of the latest standard GPs, but that's not the idea that Sam Black really developed. It's some of his friends' ideas. So anyhow, a lot of solid cards here. Green Warden is really interesting in this deck, a card that I think like a lot of people underappreciate. Just value, just solid value against mid-range control. Obnixilis in the sideboard. There's a chance you may want like few languages right now, main deck, at least in the paper meta game. Of course you have a couple of petitions to fetch the language, but I don't know. I feel like you may want to squeeze in the third one in this metagame right now, full of humans and other green-white ag stacks, etc. So that's mono-white humans. Nothing insane here. Except for maybe this card, or maybe like this card, which he's splashing on the back of like 4 pain lands and 4 mana lands in the sideboard. Yeah, it could be fine, could be a good mirror breaker. Reckless Bushwhacker Mirror Breaker. That's Black Green Aristocrats. Very solid. I actually think those types of decks should come back because I think they play more or less fine against those humans and band companies and green wine tokens. All those decks are pretty good for the rights and other company decks with the combo elements in it, so I think those should come back. They were pushed back because of all those Kalitas and Radiant Flames kind of decks, so they've been pushed aside, and Black-White is good against them sometimes because language plus declaration plus everything else. So decks like this, with sometimes not just war language but planar outburst in there and sideboard tragic Kerrigans or things like that, or just more removal and more life gain and so on. This one even main decks Hello with Moonlight. That's funny. That's funny. That's definitely funny. Okay, humans. That's banned humans. That's not necessarily banned company, or that's what you call banned humans. Another white stack, but this is moto, so not exactly representative of the overall meta game, just the online meta game, and I just opened up one league. So this is modern, and what we have is junk, which is I'm a bit surprised. I think junk is still much better right now, but just junk is okay. It's okay. It has its bonuses. It's let's say if Jund and Jund commit to each other, I think Abzan is actually a bit more favored in that duo, things like that, and it might be actually better against. So it's better against other Lily decks and other Black Red X decks like Grixis Control because of Lingering Souls and things like that. But so yeah, and looks like the metagame is heading that direction, so probably it's okay. Probably Abzan is good again, better than Jund, because I bet the last creature decks, there's still quite a few, so it's a gamble. It's a gamble. You gotta like trust your guts and see where it's heading. Infect and infects, well, always a big part of online metagame. Burn. Naya Burn is there. Bant Eldrazi's. A deck that I think more people should play. It's always decent. It struggles tiny bit against combo decks. But that's about it. On the other hand, you still have Thought Knots and Spell Skies and Paths, so. And some hate in the sideboards like Silence, Stony Silence Negates, Cages, things like that, Rest in Peace. So you're not totally dead against combo decks. Burn, of course, because it's online meta. Black White Eldrazi's, Hate Bears kind of thing. Solid deck, but never been like super amazing. Black White Tokens I think is actually a better deck right now, but Black White is fine for Magic Online, that's for sure. Maybe not for big events. That's Mono White. What is it called? Soul Sisters. Fine for online. Maybe not super fine for paper metagame. But if it's all just a bunch of like creature decks and mid ranges, then you're good. This is something crazy. This is basically if Scapeshift decks and Jeskai have a child. So this is Red Green Through the Breach, Titan, Scapeshift. Well, it doesn't have Scapeshifter, does it? No, it doesn't. Just like basically Red Green Through the Breach, Splash and for Nahiri, because why not? Nahiri gets your Emrakul. That's cool. That's cool, and then you don't need to play that many of them. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, I think. No white cards in the sideboard actually. And it's pretty standard, except that maybe like Chalices in the sideboard is not something you see every day in those decks. But totally acceptable. Death Shadow aggro. Almost extinct archetype, but still good. Still fine, but never like that absurd. Okay, that's Manchester. Raphael Levy took it down, and yeah. As you probably all know, tokens banned, humans, things like that, and then everything else was pushed down to for top 32, where you see a lot of different decks actually. Including Martin Mueller's special. So, which one he ended up? I remember it was like top 25 or so. And I remember it was Manchester. Was it this Rogu one? Yeah. So the Mono Blue Prison, Frank Karsten on Daily MtG talked about this deck, I believe. It's pretty fun. It's dirt cheap, and it's super fun, but you really need to solitaire it quite a few times and play test it a bit, because it's not that easy. Well, when I say super cheap, yeah, it has like 4 Winds Produce in the sideboard, but you don't have to do this, and for Fang Dice, like, yeah, they cost like a little bit, not as much as Winds Produce cost, but you don't have to do this. Probably you can figure out something else if you just want to play this fun deck at smaller events. But yeah, that's another kind of rogue deck, and it's not actually a goggles deck, but it does have archives in it for ramp, and then your big trumps like Jaces and Chandras and Nulamogs and Drowner. That's another spicy deck that I think deserves to be played more. It's like very solid, very smooth. I'm not sure if this is the right list, but it looks like very fine to me. It has all the elements of a decent control deck, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. Actually, one of the decks that I think is super cool right now and it deserves more play is basically Naya mid-range or Naya Super Friends with a bunch of planeswalkers in it. So what you get is the cool part of Chandra cleaning the board, Nahiri actually fetching up Dragon Lord Tarko or Evacin or whatever, some dudes. You can have more spice in the sideboard if you really want to. You have like all your cool removals, some dig spells, your usual trackers and advocates and Nissa to ramp because you have a bunch of 4s in your deck. Now here you can get your Linvala if you need to stabilize the board actually. But yeah, and then you have all kinds of things in the sideboard, more small drops or Gideons for mid-range and control, more removals, things like that. It's a very solid deck. It's to me it will be maybe a little bit boring, but for some people it's just their right style. It's just their right style of a deck. It's just their cup of tea. Orzhov or like black-white mid-range and Grixis are still alive. Ramp is I think another deck that should rise a bit if for the next couple of weeks we're heading that direction with humans and tokens and bands. We really miss Ugin, that's for sure, but Chandri's still okay. And Atarka is awesome right now. Like, if something, then Atarka is awesome right now because it cleans up humans and tokens and so forth, but you need to have some kind of ramp for it or at least some quick drops. So this deck is ramping and the Naya Planeswalkers has a lot of cheap spells to build up until you get to the point of Atarka. So I think this card was actually good a few weeks ago, and after the events of Manchester, Minneapolis, it's even better, I think. So that's my humble opinion. Minneapolis. Okay, again tokens, again a bunch of humans, so yeah, you probably heard this story, but what has been outside of that is that actually all those black-white decks and Aspa and Grixis and so on are not that far behind, they're still there. It just so happened that they were not right for this last weekend for those GPs, but they're all there. Justin Cohen actually playing ramp, and I would agree with him, although I might not agree about the Shem of Forgotten Ways, but it's a creature that can block and it ramps you up pretty nicely towards the Tarka. So it's a like decent blocker for early game, and it gets you to your Olamog or to your Atark, etc. He's really going deep with this deck, actually. 4 Atark and full Olamog, so yeah, I actually like this list quite a bit. Bellower gets you what Shaman, which can then do a lot of broken things, but it can always just get you Liquid Cultivator if you want like a Death Touch blocker or something. Get you a track or a Big Advocate and things like that. Very streamlined deck. I actually think this might be even a better version. It might be even a better version than this fast aggressive metagame. His cyber is a bit weird. Like, what is this? I can understand the planes to help like cast some things, but like things like what? Ah, Radiant Flames. Okay, I see. Because of wilds and like vegetation and pilgrimage, yeah. So he wants Radiant Flames to actually do some work. On the other hand, with some big dudes, He might as well cast player return, but I can understand flames here because he's actually playing a lot of green creatures, and I believe return only works with colorless dudes. So I guess that's a thing. Like, but what is this? Just like one last minute addition or something. So yeah, his sideboard is a bit random, but not very random. Smashers is like your staple for ramp, like out of the sideboard, so nothing like super crazy. Reduke on black green, also in an underappreciated deck. Okay, so the return of the frog. The frog is actually real, the real deal. This looks super smooth, actually. Yeah, I like this. Maybe would like a dead's weight in the main deck to help all the delirium kind of stuff. But there's not that much of it left, actually. Well, it helps the seasons pass, but you just play one and you always still get some value out of it because of things like Duress and Oath, maybe, or things like that. Though yeah, I don't know. Like, well, Reduke probably knows better, but it's still strange to me not to see some death's weights in here. Alright, and this is sizable event, 268 players, a couple of weeks ago. Magic Card Market Series, Frankfurt in Germany, and Tartarus to Zurich, wow. And that's a European pro player that you probably saw at GPs and Pro Tours. Which band is that? Yeah, this is the Humans one, which apparently prevailed over the traditional band company ones. Okay, and there is ramp as well there. Okay, let's look a bit more at modern now and see where we're heading. So I actually didn't cover that much Charlotte last time around, but we can look a little bit at it right now. Obviously there were a bunch of people dropping out during day one, so it's actually turned out to be not a very big event at the end because of all the problems. But that's fine, I suppose. So what is actually decent to check out as well outside of this? Well, let's check this first. Ad nauseam actually is pumping up, so yeah, it's rising up. Well, Kikakord is basically popping up and doing well only when some really dedicated fanatics are playing it. And I don't mean it in a bad way, I just mean that people who actually know the deck pretty well normally do well with it, and there are not that many of them actually. But the deck is fine. But hard to play, hard to tune, and things like that. So what was Sam Black actually playing in Charlotte's? Oh yeah, the Death Shadow aggro. Right. Huh. Huh. That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, he did top 8 sorta, even though the top 8 cut in there had some nuances as well. Yeah, Escape Ship becomes a deck now. Jaunt is still a deck. What else is pretty interesting? Nahiri just guys. BBD was playing what? Oh, okay. So some creature heavy Ebsen. That's interesting. That's kind of interesting. I'm not sure I'm in love with this list. I mean, it looks solid, but slightly boring. Very streamlined, very smooth, very like efficient, sufficient, etc. But a bit boring. Not that much play to it. Just a bit of way to stop your opponents with some discard, some removals, and just bash bash with very good creatures. That's what it was. Some company was there, but not in huge numbers like before. So what else is like interesting to point out? Not much. Okay, maybe let's have a look at more deck lists from online. Give me a short while, so also this way you know how to find them as well. Should I look at just one? But we definitely can look at more, and I think we should, even though modern is not a very let's say very actual format right now. Nothing much to prepare for, so that is very weird zoo. Like, not to encounter cats, not even bushwhacker zoo. So it's pretty crazy. Geist and the Rampager in the same deck. That's really crazy for me. Looks very efficient, probably fine for online metagame, but probably hard to justify on paper. With 4 war monks in the sideboard and the this Kiora. So yeah, this is some special deck. Okay, I guess the guy like just having fun, but at the same time taking it moderately seriously. Grixis control with 3 fulminators for Tron matchup. And yeah, Incursion is a card in Modern, so dig it out. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So this is like red-green ramp, moon. You have moons, you have quite a bit of ramp in here. And your win condition instead of green Titan is the red Titan, Infernal one. And in addition to moons, like your turn 2 Bastard plays like actual Stone Rain and Acid Moss. This is stupid, and like you clean the board and kill your opponent with Bonfire. This is so freaking crazy, but I mean, I don't know, even I probably wouldn't shy off of playing it at a moderately big event. This is so fun. Like, you got quite a few free wins with that deck out of nowhere. So is this the new Dredge? Maybe not exactly. It looks like it, but almost. Yeah, this is sort of the new Dredge. Yeah, although the scope is something I haven't seen in such lists before. So this is a very weird deck, but it's very streamlined and it's actually very efficient. There is not that much grave hate right now in Modern, although cages are still there. Okay, I've been talking about Absent companies way too much, so I'm not gonna talk about it, although like the list looks kinda weird a bit with Unmake in there and both combos. So there is the Archangel Feeder package as well in the deck. Maybe like, oh yeah, so this is some budget just having fun because of Pilgrims and stuff. Well, Nobles do cost quite a bit. Black White, so draws us again with Tallies as well. Yeah, I actually like this deck, yeah. Oh, this is kind of spicy, but because of Flicker Wisp, it's actually funny. Yeah, it actually makes sense. It actually makes sense. No, I like the deck. Probably I like it more than just straight mono white or green white hate berries in Modern. At least for now, because there are quite a few creature decks right now in the format. So this version is actually a bit better. Giant, Affinity, Bushwhacker Aggro, Affinity. Moving on. Yeah, Absent seems to be picking up at least online more or less, kinda, in the past few days. In fact, Black White. Oh yeah, I think I may have seen this one or just covered it. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so this one we didn't see. Wow, that's the Kilfin special. The deck is alive, but probably don't take it to your big events. Although this deck does have probe to see what's up. You have a bunch of cantrips. You have main deck Futsays, both for hate bears and stuff, and you have 4 main deck denials. So maybe this deck actually has a lot of play to it. Meanwhile, you have some 1-turn kill turns as well when you really go off. And Pyromancers and Cyber as a backup, yeah, like that. More discard. More discard. Fish is standard right now, not gonna go for that. What's this? So this is, yeah, that's a standard Tron. Tron is not that, but it's nothing like extraordinary right now. And this is Blue Red Delver. Yeah, you can play it in Modern still as well with main deck Moons. That is pretty spicy. Because why not? You're a 2-color deck. You can just get 1 red source and the rest are islands and you're fine. Things like that. The only spice in the cyber is just Pian and Giron, which is not that big of a spice either. In fact, Death Shadow aggro, in fact, oh my god, there's so much in fact, so much Death Shadow aggro. That actually makes me think that, at least for online, if you can on time click through all the triggers with Abs and Company, it actually might be pretty cool. And if to your local store, to your medium average event, there are people bringing in a lot of those beat down decks and infacts and stuff like this, then you're really gonna be doing well with Abs and Company. But then if there is gonna be a lot of like just kinda here and stuff like this, then you're toasted. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't too long, and I hope the structure wasn't too messy, so let me know in the comments below. Maybe next time I'll try to arrange it in a more comprehensive manner, crop it out and things like that, but I wanted to uncover these things this weekend because there are some PPTQs, so I was hoping to get lucky and quick to bring some info to those folks. Well, and to everybody else, okay, check out the Modern and Standard playlist on the channel, check out bookbrew.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully we'll have time to do a bit more streaming on Twitch and a bit more like play testing with paper decks and stuff like that. So yeah guys, thanks a lot, goodbye.